But also the fact that you're feeling imposter syndrome from time to time shows that you are stretching, you are growing. And that really should be reason to pat yourself on the back.
Right.
And not like self-flagellate like we as women always want to do, like we're not enough, we shouldn't be here. Like,
That's right.
Let's change the chatter in our minds and really give ourselves some credit for doing things that are scary and continuing to stretch outside ourselves.
All I see is blessings on blessings, yeah. I see the blessings coming our way, our way, our way.
Okay, so everyone, I mean, I want to say, you might be a superstar to me. I'm going to be honest with you. You might actually be a superstar to me. Guys, we have Candace Nelson in the building for the Cool Mom Code podcast.
You do.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you
Cool Mom
so
Code
much.
podcast.
By the way, right back at you.
No.
You are my superstar. Thank you for having me.
Nope, not the same. I won't accept it because this is why. This is why. Because mine has validity, okay? And let me tell you about my validity. Honestly, Candace, and you know this, you have been a superstar in my world for quite some time because I am probably the biggest fans of Sprinkles and Pisana.
Aww.
I absolutely adore both of them. And as a foodie at heart, I will have to say that my palate does not lie. It is you've like hit 2 gold rushes. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, even on a show, Sugar Rush, but it's absolutely crazy. It's like, honestly, you are that person. I feel like every time I see you, you're always smiling.
No, that's
and
sweet.
I don't know if it's just that you look at life where the cup is half full instead of cup is half empty. Is that right?
I try to.
You're very positive.
I try to. And I also feel like when you go out, you really owe it to other people to bring your best self.
Wow.
I'm not going to say that I'm always like bringing it when I'm at home on the couch watching Netflix.
That's
right?
fair.
Which
That's
also
fair.
happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
But when I'm out and someone has invited me to a party or an event, like I'm going to bring my A game.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be smiling and I'm going to shine my light and my energy because people deserve that.
Yeah. Is it people deserve that, or is it that also that's just an innate part of you?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not performing. It's not performative.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I understand what you mean. You're like, people deserve that because they've put their time and energy into making this event happen, making it possible. It's a lot of things that go into the back end of it.
Right, because sometimes, and I'm sure that you feel this way, we have a lot going on.
Right.
Most importantly, our families, our kids, they need us. And then we have these more public-facing careers.
Right.
So there are a lot of events, there are a lot of people demanding our attention. And so sometimes, I'm in it at home with my kids doing their homework and they need me and I have to extract myself and go out. And so that requires sort of a different energy, right? And sometimes I have to kind of cultivate that energy.
Right.
Because I may not want to go out that night.
Who are you telling? How do you combat that though? Because I mean, I think that you're very busy. Let's just lay it out there. Entrepreneur, TV host, shark on Shark Tank.
Get Shark.
Not to mention your own shows, Cupcake Wars, Sugar Rush. I mean, the endless. It's endless. You are an investor. You are really active on social media. I mean, really active. You do great. I look at your content. I'm like, dang, this girl is doing it. I mean, so and obviously you're married. You have children, teenage children. You're just very busy. There's a lot of different hats that you wear. How do you go through your days? It's a lot.
It's a lot. I think you're creative. I'm creative. There's something about a creative mind that we always want to be doing something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is very true.
And you complain about it sometimes. You're like, I'm too busy. I'm being pulled in all these different directions. And then the second you have like 3 minutes free, you're like, what should I do? Yeah. What should I start? Exactly. What am I going to do next? Yes. I am trying to combat that urge a little bit as I get older.
Right.
Because there might have been a time in my life where I really liked being pulled in a lot of different directions, whether or not I admitted to it. It felt that energy. I kind of fed off of it.
Right.
As I get older, as I'm sort of seeing like on the horizon, my kids going off to school, I am just...
And by school, you mean going off to college?
Going off to college, right? So it's like I've got a 16-year-old in my house. I got 2 years with this kid. Wow. That's very sobering when you get to your kids are still young,
Yes.
but once they get to middle school and then that first year of high school, it goes by in a blip.
Well, this is what, I mean, we're at our first year in middle school.
Right.
And I can't wait to dive into all of your tips on what I'm doing wrong.
No, you're doing it all right. And you're
everything that
No.
I'm doing wrong and everything. Nah, I'm joking.
I
I'm
know
totally
you are,
joking.
but I don't even want to hear you say
But
that.
like everything, this whole like having a teenager
Mhm.
is wild. So
Mhm.
you're just saying, okay, finish your thoughts.
So my point is that I have gotten much better at setting boundaries and saying no. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no, because I am giving up too much.
Yeah.
Right? I'm giving up precious time with my kids. That time is fleeting. I've just become more and more aware of that. And, when you commit to something, as I've committed to my businesses and my investments, you really have to, like I said with the event, bring your whole self.
That's right.
I don't want to be bringing my half self to everything.
Yeah.
So I have grown up a little bit
Mhm.
in recent years. And even though I get a lot of invitations that sound fun, and I do, like, honestly and authentically want to be there, I say no more and more often.
Do you feel like you've also commanded that now, though? Like you've also built up enough respect, you know what I mean, in the industry and also just within, what you personally have wanted to accomplish to be able to say no now?
Well, that's kind of you to say that. And I think in theory, it should work that way. But I'll be interested in your thoughts on this. I think you always have to be out there to feel relevant, particularly in this town, right? I mean, people's attention span is that quick. And no matter how much you've accomplished, if you haven't been seen out and about for a while, people forget about you.
That's true.
And does that matter? I think the question is, does that matter as I
Right.
get older?
Right.
Not as much.
Right.
But listen, I still want to be doing things. I mean, I'm coming into my second chapter. I may want to start a whole nother business. So I don't want to be completely off of people's radar. I want to keep my options open.
That's right. You have to. That's a smart way of thinking about it. It's interesting because when I transitioned from modeling and acting into what now I think I consider just having more of a voice of myself and just kind of host, whatever it is, a producer, whatever, like all the things now that I do.
A businesswoman.
Right.
Thought leader.
But when I transitioned from that into that, and I had kids at the time, or I had just had my daughter at the time, I told myself, I'm going to start saying yes to everything because I don't know where things are going to lead.
I agree
don't know
with
what
that
opportunity. No, but I'm saying though, right? Like that's where you kind of come in at that stage. So when I was going through that transition, this is why I asked you, right? Do you feel like you've afforded yourself now the flexibility to say no?
Yes.
Because when I was coming into that transition of like two different careers, having to learn about two different industries, meeting different types of people, I just said, Lizzy, just say yes.
Yeah.
Just say yes. But now you're absolutely right. I mean, now I think I'm at the beginning phases of where you're probably like settled into. It's just that your time is so important. It really, really is.
It gets really real when you start
and it's hard.
talking about college.
Yeah, it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
It's
hard to say
no.
no. It's hard to say no also because we have this incredibly supportive, dynamic, beautiful community of women who are all like out there doing incredible things, right? They're all dynamos, they're change makers, they're trendsetters, and like they're starting companies, they're starting movements, and they show up for me and I want to show up for them.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So there's certain things that you just show up.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right. It's a no-brainer.
Right. But there are certain things,
gotta
because
go.
I was that say yes to everything, you never know where it will lead you. And now, even though I really love that mentality, I realize that I only have so much energy to go around and I have to be protective of that.
Yeah. Let's talk about these teenagers for a second.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about these teenagers for a second.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm so interested because I'm right there. I'm right at the precipice of like teenage.
Run me down the ages and the genders.
So we have two girls and a boy. So we have 11 about to be 12, 9 girl, and then we have the little boy is 6, just turned 6. So the younger ones are still young. I'm not gonna lie. It's the oldest that I'm like, whoa, we're right there. And I keep on thinking you're in middle school, so in a second you're gonna be in high school, and then bye. That's it. And I start to see her changing too. Like I was so flustered this morning. I was running like crazy, trying to get them out of the house. I didn't realize I had to take them to school. And so I was just pushed behind. I was like, blah, blah. She finally get her to school. Obviously, she's late. She's going to be tardy. She's like, thanks, Mom. I'm going to have another tardy on my belt because of you. I was like, oh my God, little girl. Can you just be thankful that you got to school on time? I mean, got to school safely? You know, it was just like, and I'm like, how? Lord, help me.
They
Lord,
hold
help
you
me.
to very high standards.
And it's just like, that's
Yes.
like, so that is like a challenge, you know. How are you with your boys? Like, are you guys like, do you allow social media? I mean, now they're 16 and like whatever. So I'm sure that's something that you probably do. But how do you combat how it is growing up now?
Oh my God.
You know, like, because it's different.
It's really, really hard. I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole on this. I will say that my youngest, who just turned 13, is a very unique kind of kid. And we've been actually, even though we're very protective of giving our kids phones and social media, and they have, you know, screen time restrictions, and my older son didn't get a phone until he was 13. Well, my younger son has been 13 for a while, and we've been begging him to get a phone just because we want to be able to reach him.
Yes.
We want to know where he is.
1000%.
It's just
safety.
It's just practical.
Yeah.
It's practicality and it's safety.
That's right.
And he didn't want one. He was resisting it. Now, here's the thing. The kid loves a video game. He will start on a video game and we won't see him for hours. He comes out of his room flushed. He's like literally eyes glazed.
Yeah.
He has a self-awareness that he's not in control around this technology. And so I respect that so much. And we held off as long as we could.
Wow.
But he finally has a phone. I think, you know, this stuff is so addictive. I mean, I know it's addictive because it's addictive to me.
Right.
And I know that I feel like a different person, sometimes better, but a lot of times worse after I'm done scrolling social media.
Yeah.
But I will say having boys, I think, is less traumatizing than having girls in this day and age when it comes to social media.
You think so?
I think so, just based on my experience. Maybe it's just the type of kids I have.
Right.
They don't have a ton of FOMO.
Yeah.
But also just talking to my friends who have girls. I mean, and now with Snapchat, did you hear about the new feature on Snapchat where it's a premier subscription? You pay a certain amount per month and you get these features with it where you can see how you rank among your friends. And kids are already just freaking out over this, but nobody's canceling their subscription. It's like you have to have it, but you hate it. It's just this love-hate relationship that we all have with it. But at young ages, it can be really dangerous.
Well, this is terrifying. This is terrifying to me because I was just talking to someone else. I was just talking to Allison Felix about this. And she's pregnant now with her second, and she has a young 5-year-old little girl. But I was saying, you know, social media is such a game changer for kids nowadays because we weren't combated with that. Like, I don't remember, I told her, I was like, even if I got teased at school, I came home and I got a break from it. I'd, you know, my cup would go back full because my mom would say some encouraging things. My brothers would be like, Lizzy, brush it off, you're fine, and blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever it was, like you got, your cup became full again at home in the time period.
You were blocked off from it.
Between, you know, school or whatever. Now that follows them. Now social media, there's no turn off. You're surrounded by it all the time. And not to mention more schools. It's not just your school. It is multiple schools in your area or in your community or whatever that are all on social media. So it's not like you just know the kids from your school. You know kids from all over.
For sure.
At all the schools. And so I'm just like, wow. So when I talk to like parents who have teenagers, I'm always in awe because I'm like, how does it affect our kids nowadays? And what can we do as parents to help protect them? Help, like you said, put the bubble around them a little bit.
I've just tried to, and we talk about it incessantly. We talk about, you know, and I think that's why my younger child has self-awareness around it. We'll say, gosh, you've been on video games for a long time. You look like really flushed. How do you feel right now? You know, and they know they don't feel that great.
Yeah.
You know, they've been in this hyped up state that's just kind of fake, right? And then the social media stuff, you know, for my kids, it's less about like, I don't think it's so much about like, what are people doing? It's more about just the nonsense videos that they just are sort of mindlessly scrolling through.
Right.
And then God forbid there's some sort of what might be a controversial video, you know, we have to teach them about their digital footprint. If they're liking something that someone else may find offensive, right? Even though it's meant to be funny,
is true.
You know, that's you've left your mark there.
That's right.
So it's always about educating. And I think it has to come back to, how do you feel in the moment so that you can teach them to sort of parent themselves, because you're not going to be
my biggest
around
thing
forever.
is that I always tell my girls, I'm like, stop taking pictures and sending them to your friends all the time. Like you have to be
Do
careful.
they have the Snapchat face?
No, it's like this whole thing. Or they might just I don't know, for them, they think it's like funny or something. I don't know. Or maybe they have on like a swimsuit or like whatever it is. I'm just like, you have to be aware of the pictures you're putting out, even when you're texting, because they don't disappear.
Right.
Now everything is traceable. So I'm like, I don't want any images of y'all out there like just having, I don't know, crazy, whatever it is.
No,
it could be anything.
In the moment, but taken out of context,
whatever it is.
Right.
I'm just like, pictures are my scariest thing.
I know.
Because I'm like,
I know. I remember when you're younger than me, but growing up, it's like, we had our diaries and you had to do a lock on the diary and you felt like all locked down and safe. And now it's like, people can hack into whatever technology you have. There's really, you got to be so careful.
You have to think about it. What if the world could read your diary?
Mm-hmm. That's what we have to teach our kids. That is quite possible these days.
That is possible. If you're loving this content, our podcast with all of our amazing guests, we love sharing their stories. It really is such a joy for us. Then you're going to love thecoolmom.co. Make sure to head over there. It is everything that you can think of lifestyle. So we have fashion, food. We have amazing interviews with a lot of other cool moms as well. So check out all of our Cool Mom Co features, shop our merch, do all the things. Check out thecoolmom.co.
Brooklinen Bedding Refresh boosts your mood for the coming months. We spend so much time in bed, so why not make it joyful with Brooklinen Bedding? Let Brooklinen transform your bedroom into the sleep sanctuary you've always wanted. From luxurious luxe sateen to crisp classic percale, there's a Brooklinen sheet weave for every type of sleeper. Plus, Brooklinen's award-winning sheets are made with long staple cotton, resulting in a high-quality night of rest. I've recently got the best sheets from Brooklinen, and it's been a game changer for me. One thing, I take my sleep very seriously, and I take my bedding very seriously. And sleeping on these sheets have been amazing. So whether you're starting out in a new home or adding some flair to your current setup, Brooklinen's customizable bed and bath bundles make it easy to upgrade, putting everything you need in one place. And you save up to 25% off when you bundle. So embrace a spring refresh with Brooklinen's home essentials. Visit in-store or online at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. And use code COOLMOM for $20 off your order of $100 or more. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Use promo code COOLMOM for $20 off.
I never knew that you were born in Indonesia.
I know.
Excuse me? What? Indonesia.
Born in Jakarta, Indonesia, moved to Hong Kong, then moved to the upper Midwest, Michigan and Wisconsin.
Hello, Michigan.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
So
Yep.
Midwestern.
That's right.
At my core.
You're a Midwesterner.
Even though I'm part California girl for sure, and I'll get there, but at my core, I feel like that Midwestern grounding never leaves you.
It doesn't.
Such a good thing.
It's such a good thing.
And then moved back to Southeast Asia, to Medan, Sumatra, then went to Singapore.
Wow.
Then went to boarding school in New England.
Wow.
College in New England, then out to San Francisco, then down to LA. So I've just kind of, I don't know where I'm from. People ask that question and I'm just like, how much time do you have?
For real. But honestly, that must have made you so much more aware of the world and how to talk to people.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I hope so. That's the one thing, right, that I have to intentionally think about with my children is they're growing up in one place, which I wanted. You always want what you don't have. Yeah. I had a world perspective, which was amazing, and you can't really teach that.
Right.
I think that everyone should live out, all Americans should live outside of America for some period of time.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
really understand. We have a lot of issues in this country, but to understand how good generally we have it compared to most of the world.
But also give you different perspectives.
Give a different perspective, understand different cultures. And so now my kids, I'm like, okay, you've been raised in West LA your whole life. we got to get you on the road. Let's get this show on the road. So we try to take an international trip every year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really that interested in roughing it. So it's not like they're roughing it.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
It's a global education.
But being raised like that, like you just said, you mentioned that, for your kids, you always feel like you're like they're being raised in one place. But was it hard for you being raised in multiple different places?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because you know how scary it is to walk into a room, even as an adult, when you know nobody.
Right.
That's hard as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, not just in a different state, but in a different country.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was constantly having to put on the Candace Nelson show. I mean, back then it was Candy Brown.
Yeah.
The Candy Brown show, and make friends and walk into lunchrooms where I knew nobody and make it happen because nobody was going to make it happen for me.
Yeah.
And so there's a resilience and a grit and sort of a becoming comfortable in the uncomfortable that I think has served me really well in entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And
this is
in life, but it's hard.
My wheels are just putting it all together now because those are the pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
You having to confront that and face that so young
Mm-hmm.
is why now as an adult, I see you when you walk into spaces and it seems so effortless for you.
That's kind.
Right? But it does. And so
Mhm.
because you have experienced that from a very young age, it's what you remember. That's one of your skill sets. That's you. It's in your back pocket.
Yes.
It's
a muscle.
It's a muscle
Here we
that
go.
you've worked.
Mhm.
And so now as an adult, I see you and I'm like, oh, this Candace room, she is in it.
Meanwhile, I'm looking around. I'm like, who do I know here?
Yeah,
No one.
exactly.
Oh God.
But you know what I mean? But
There's Lizzy.
yeah, right. But this is the question I have though. How do we, without the same experiences, give that muscle or
Mhm.
allow that muscle to be worked with our kids who aren't doing that?
Mhm.
Because I remember even I didn't move around a lot,
Mhm.
but I've always liked people.
Yes.
Just always have. I don't know
Mhm.
what it is. And so I've always liked people, always been the one
Interested
in curious
yeah.
people's stories and hearing people, speak. And so in high school, I was just always bouncing around to different friend groups and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But it was like a muscle that I began to work. And then
Mhm.
by the time I got to college, I was like, oh, this is a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
And by the time I moved to New York, I was like, oh, I got
Yes.
this. And then it just
Yes.
keeps growing. How do we give that to our kids who don't necessarily have the same experiences?
Well, I think we have to let them fail a little bit here and there.
I like that.
There's a lot that has been written recently about how parents are. I mean, first there was a helicopter parent,
Mhm.
and then I heard
remember,
the
yeah.
term the snowplow parent, where you
No.
just are clearing the path in front of them so they have just a clear path to walk down.
Wow.
And we're not doing anyone any favors.
Yeah.
And it's excruciating to watch your child suffer.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that you should just, our generation was raised benevolent neglect.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's something to that. There are life skills that are built when
Mhm.
you have to do things for yourself. And we talk about it at the dinner table all the time. I want them taking risks. I want them taking classes that they might not be good at, even
Yeah.
if they don't get the A. It's
That's right.
okay, right?
Yeah.
Stretch yourself, do things that are scary. I mean, it doesn't always work, right? I was trying to get my older son, who's this 6'5" rower jock now, but I was
Of course he's 6'5".
He
Of course he's 6'5".
huge. and I was trying to, for a while, get him into improv because I feel
love
like improv is just the perfect life skill, right?
Yes,
Because
agree.
that's what life is. It's about thinking on your feet.
Mhm.
It's about being life just
A little
doesn't go-
uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also kind of learning that skill of not being afraid in front of an audience and, just being charismatic and funny.
Mhm. Being able
none
to
of-
laugh at yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
None of that can hurt.
Yeah.
All of that is helpful. And I made him take this improv elective and he just was like, Mom, it's so embarrassing. I'm like, yeah, that's the point.
Exactly.
But he wasn't that into it. So, but it doesn't mean I don't keep trying.
Yeah.
And ad nauseum at the dinner table, I just yap at them and hope something's getting through.
I love that though. Really trying to push them out of their comfort zone, push them into areas that hey, this may not be amazing right now. You may not ace it. It may not just come so naturally, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to do that too.
Yeah, I think that's the building blocks to confidence because a lot of times you sit back and you think, I'm just going to stay in my lane because I feel good and comfortable here and I'm
Right.
good at this. And it's scary to, once you have, mastery or ownership of something, to go
Let
back
go of
out
that.
there
Yeah.
and fall flat on your face.
Because if that gets rocked, you don't
Mhm.
know how to rebuild.
Mhm.
That's the problem, which will happen in life. You
Right.
will get rocked.
Right.
There will be something that you're amazing at, and
Mhm.
it will get rocked because that is life, and that's okay.
Mhm.
How do we encourage our kids to rebuild? That's interesting. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that tip. I think that's a great takeaway.
But I think also there are times when you surprise yourself,
Mhm.
right? You think, oh, well, I thought I was going to suck at this, but I actually did better than I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
And then what I also try to like hit home with them is even when you do fail, it's about the getting back up.
Mhm.
And it's not about focusing on what you didn't do right. It's about the fact that a lot of people would stop when they fail.
Yeah.
But the people who are successful are the ones that keep getting back up, keep getting back up, keep getting back up. So it's like, let's just desensitize yourself to failure.
That's
right.
Wow. That's the quote. Desensitize yourself to failure. That right there. Like that, I think that's exactly what it is. If we can all just desensitize ourselves to failure, even us as parents, right? For me, I think it took motherhood for me to shift into a whole different phase of my career. It gave me something. There was something behind it where I was like, okay, now I have this little girl. She looks up to me. My time matters, right? So even if I say yes to all these things for opportunities, it's because I have a certain goal in mind.
Of course.
So my time is important. It's not just wasted because I'm just on, doing this.
Yeah.
And da-da-da.
Yeah.
Like it was like, because I have a goal in mind. But yeah, desensitizing yourself for failure, even for us, even for women who are making pivots in life,
Yes.
even for, you feel like you have so much at stake or so much to lose or there's so much pressure, but just desensitizing yourself to failure. That's important.
I love this example. I overuse it, I'm sure, but the founder of Canva,
Yes.
Melanie Perkins, I think is her name, who got 100 no's from venture capitalists on her idea
Wow.
before she got a yes.
Wow.
Most people, think about like being told to your face no 3 times.
Yeah.
Think about 10 times, 100 times.
100 times.
And she didn't give up.
Wow.
She's got one of the most valuable tech companies in the world.
World.
Like that.
That's amazing.
And someone like Julie Wainwright, who she was the CEO of pets.com, which was back in the .com days.
Yeah.
This is when I was coming up in my career. Went public, failed spectacularly in the .com bust, like went bankrupt. A recruiter told her she was washed up. Okay. She was like, no, I'm not. She went on to found The Real Real, which I'm sure you know.
Wow.
Took that public. And now she's starting another company. She's older than me. She's definitely in her second chapter. I don't know how old she is, but she's just like unflappable. And I aspire to be like that.
So are those the type of stories that inspire you? Because I feel like you're the story that inspires me.
Oh, that's really
so
sweet.
I
Thank
feel like you like did. Come on, Candace. Come on.
I just follow
Come
my
on.
stomach, Lizzy.
Come
It's
on.
real simple.
Come on.
You know.
So this is my point.
Yeah.
So this is my point. Was it always cupcakes? Was that always the first thing? Was it always cupcakes? Or how did it just like one day?
So this ties back to my international upbringing because when I was living on the island of Sumatra and I was really homesick for the treats that I loved from home, I couldn't get them at the grocery store. It wasn't an American style bakery, right? So I had to learn to bake them myself. And I really fell in love with baking. I fell in love with learning about baking. I baked with my mom. We baked all the classic American treats that I missed from home. I didn't start with cupcakes. I started with like Rice Krispie treats, as one does.
Chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate chip cookies, as everyone does. Brownies.
Yes.
Those were kind of my mainstays. And then I learned more and I got into cakes and cupcakes and I even tried to make meringue, but meringue in the tropics is not an easy thing to do.
Okay.
So yeah, cupcakes for me have always been like a beloved treat and they represented my homeland. There's really nothing much more American than a cupcake.
And then you went into pastry school.
I went from finance to technology.
Wow.
And then the .com bust happened. I was out of a job. And then 9/11 happened. And I was not only out of a job, but now I was doing some deep soul searching and reflection. And I came to the realization that I didn't like what I'd been doing.
Wow.
Spoiler alert, like crunching hours at a cubicle into like the wee hours of the night was not that fun. And I wanted to do something that felt more meaningful to me.
Right.
And baking for me had always been this place of connection. Food in general is like where we can all come together
Absolutely.
around a table, get along and agree.
Yeah.
And that feels good to me. That's like a happy place for me. So I decided instead of going to business school, I would go to pastry school.
What?
And then just
coming from finance.
Yeah.
After all that.
Yes. And I went to like very academic schools. I mean, this was not, my peers were not going into the food world. Nobody I knew was a chef or a pastry chef or even like a retail store owner. I mean, it was more corporate track.
And how long was the pastry program? How long was that?
It wasn't that long. It was like 8 months.
Wow.
And a lot of people would then go stage after that, which means you go apprentice with someone. And of course, I was young and naive and I just wanted to get started.
Yeah.
So I started baking out of my kitchen, and just during that period of time, I started with cakes. And then I realized that cakes weren't really that scalable. I still had this business brain that wouldn't give up. And I was walking through the supermarket and saw these real sad cupcakes in their plastic clamshells.
Yep.
And I was like, God, those cupcakes need a makeover.
Wow.
And just
set
about to reinvent the cupcake.
Wow, you did. You reinvented the cupcake. And my favorite cupcake was the red velvet. We talked about this before.
I'm so
Candace
sorry.
and I have talked about this before. We have gone through this. It is very disappointing. I'm so sad. I am an OG Sprinkles fan.
You really are.
I feel like I must have been there day one. I don't know. Maybe.
Probably.
But I will say that
was an early flavor.
It's an early flavor. Early flavor.
Yes.
It was this red velvet. It had this just delicious cream cheese, cinnamon frosting.
Spicy hot cinnamon.
It was kind of like the red hot candy guys back in the day, which was one of my favorites. It was everything. And then you just took it away. But we're not going to go there.
Crushed your dreams.
We're not going there. Candace at least made it up because I came to your house and we made cupcakes. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course I remember that.
I was so excited. I was like, this is the highlight of my world.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to Candace's house to make cupcakes. This is everything,
we
guys.
had so much fun.
Question though, when you started Sprinkles, had you had your oldest son yet?
No. No. And I don't know how I would have started Sprinkles if I was a mom. I mean, people ask me that all the time. And I'm like, I am not the person to ask because I would have been a completely deadbeat mom. I mean, I would not have seen my child ever. They would have had to have like a, what do you call those? Like a midwife or a milk nurse or something. I don't know. But I barely saw my dog at the time. It was just took every hour and every ounce of energy. And it was a Herculean effort to get that business started.
I mean, but wow, whatever you did was amazing because you literally changed not only the bakery industry, but I think you really obviously changed the cupcake game forever. I mean, so many copycats, listen, I'm a little biased, guys. I'm a little biased. We just had Sprinkles last night.
You did.
We have Sprinkles for every birthday.
Oh,
every birthday we have to get Sprinkles. Even if we get like Sprinkles and pie or Sprinkles and something else. But we have to get Sprinkles. There's no.
I love that it's a mainstay in your
home.
It's a
mainstay.
That means
mainstay.
a lot to me.
And then Pisana.
Yeah.
I mean, Pisana, like, what a home run.
Oh,
like, what a
you.
freaking home run. Pisana is like one of the most amazing pizza, restaurants. You have several locations now.
Yes, we have 5 in Los Angeles, 1 in Dallas, and we're about to open in Houston.
Wow. I didn't know you had 5 in LA.
Yes. We're Michelin Bib Gourmand awarded.
Wow.
We are, 50 top pizza of Italy, which is most people would not know of that, but it's very prestigious in the pizza world.
Yeah.
So it's one of those businesses that I actually kind of stumbled into it.
Really?
It was just love at first bite. That pizza just kind of hooked me. And I was at a party at Chris O'Donnell's house.
Yes.
He had this, Italian pizza chef who was catering out of his wood burning oven. And I took one bite of this pizza and I was like, whoa, this is good.
You know what though? That's following your taste,
Yeah,
right? Like following your stomach.
Yeah, following your gut.
Following your gut. Following your gut right there.
Literally
that's
and figuratively.
Literally. I love that. I feel like that's the type of person you are though. It seems like you have an instinct and you follow it. Where does that come from?
Oh gosh. I think it's just passion, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's hard. It's easier to be good at something when you're passionate about it. When you can't stop thinking about it, you can't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
You're banging your drum, telling the world about it. It's like, it's just easier. And I take that into my, perspective when I'm looking at investments too. If it's not something I would personally use,
Right.
that really gives me pause because I want to be cheerleader number one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, and I feel like it's much easier to package and market a product when I'm the target demographic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it just is more intuitive.
That's right. Well, you can help tell the story better.
And I love
right?
telling a story.
It's more
I think
authentic.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's something that I saw on your social, your Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically you were giving tips on people who sometimes feel imposter syndrome.
That's a big one.
This is a big one.
That's a big one.
This is a big one because we all have heard the term fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always the easiest thing to do when you're walking into rooms that feel so overly intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like people are just, have surpassed you in so many ways, or are more intelligent in certain ways, or have more things under their belt, more experience, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, or have there been situations where you really have felt imposter syndrome, and how have you overcome it?
Oh my gosh, all the time.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I talk about it. It's just like self-therapy.
Yeah.
And every time I do talk about it, there's an incredible response. And it reaffirms for me the fact that as women, we're really hard on ourselves, right? There was some statistic at HP where they put out this job description, and if men hit like 60% of the requirements of the job, they would apply. But women would only apply if they hit 100% of the requirements of the job. And so what I try to do when I'm talking about imposter syndrome is to help women reframe it in their mind. Because, and just to step back for a second and define it, imposter syndrome is this feeling that you don't belong in that room.
That's
that
right.
You are a fraud. And to your point earlier, that all these people have surpassed you. What are you doing there? And you're going to be found out at any moment.
Right.
It's like this deep, dark secret.
That's right.
It's almost like a shame.
Right.
And I think what we have to do, the way that we're going to desensitize ourselves to failure, is we're going to reframe our mindset when it comes to imposter syndrome. Because the reason that you are in that room with all those important people is because you went outside of your comfort zone, right? You stretched, you did something new. By the way, they all think you should be there.
Right.
They asked you there.
Yeah.
So let's start there. But also the fact that you're feeling imposter syndrome from time to time shows that you are stretching. You are growing. And that really should be reason to pat yourself on the back.
Right.
And not like self-flagellate like we as women always want to do, like we're not enough, we shouldn't be here. Like,
that's right.
Let's change the chatter in our minds and really give ourselves some credit for doing things that are scary and continuing to stretch outside ourselves. I was in a yoga class, and I'm terrible at yoga. We talked about working out before. Like
I can't stretch for anything.
I can't balance.
I can't touch my toes.
And it's frustrating to me because we live in LA. It's like the land of yoga and green juice and yoga mats. And I kind of want to like be part of that vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be part of that scene. Yes. I have FOMO.
Plus you're so tall and thin. It's like, come on, yoga, you should be like a yogi at this point, right?
I mean, I wish. But I'm terrible, but I still sometimes do it because it's so good for me.
It gets you out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. See where I'm going with this. So I'm in this yoga class and I'm in the back and everybody's like standing on their like, big
Pinky.
toe and like, reaching for the stars on their one toe. And I'm just like wobbling around and I'm getting frustrated, but I'm just like, oh. And the teacher looks at the class and very kindly looks at the entire class, not just at me, but I knew who she was talking to. She was like, if you're not wobbling, you're not stretching enough. And I was like, I'm doing it just right.
That's right.
But I think that's important advice for life, right?
Right.
If you're not wobbling, feeling uncomfortable, feeling unbalanced, feeling a little outside of yourself,
you're not stretching enough.
You're not growing.
Right.
So I always like to remember that.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for our kids. Right? That goes back to kind of what you said about the improv class. Push outside of the comfort zone. Make them wobble a little bit.
Yes.
Right? So when they are in the real world, they have the tools equipped to feel okay about wobbling and stretching themselves and growing. And that's okay. I like that. That's a full circle moment. You see how we wrapped it around there. That's a full circle
You're
moment.
pro.
You're pro. That's a full circle moment. Speaking of wobbling, a little out of your comfort zone, trying new things. Let's talk Shark Tank. Yeah, baby.
I know.
I mean, what an accomplishment. How cool is that? Talk to us about that whole process. Like, I mean, that's amazing.
It's really cool. I'm just going to say it. It's really cool. It's the best show. It was the best experience. I have nothing but incredible things to say about it from beginning to end. So it's funny though, because when the email came in, I wasn't sure it was real because you know this town. Like an opportunity like that doesn't just land in your inbox. It comes like through an agent or through some sort of more official channel.
Exactly.
I have a website. It's Candace-Nelson.com. It gets like 2 visitors a month. Okay, nobody even knows I have a website. Nobody goes to this website. So the email had come in through the contact, email through my website. And I was like, oh, this is definitely someone fishing for my like credit card information.
That's right.
So I sniffed around a little bit and it was legit.
Wow.
They were asking about dates I was available and all of that. And I was like, wow, this is looking really good. And then of course I had to go through a series of interviews because Shark Tank is a hit show. This is season number 15. It's like ABC's Crown Jewel Friday nights at 8:00.
That's right.
And they can't just, hand it out to any old body. They had to make sure I wasn't going to embarrass them.
They had to vet you.
They did. They had to vet me.
Yeah.
Even though they said they wanted me, they had to vet me.
That's right.
And there was a funny moment on the call when they asked, they're like, well, why should you be a guest shark? And I was like, so ironic because you did reach out to me.
Right?
But okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it. And so I sold it. And I was like, I felt really good about it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't hear from anyone for the longest time. I didn't hear from anyone for months.
Really?
I mean, it was like, oh, they went with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was kind of curious who, though.
Yeah,
Then you're like, oh, who beat me out?
Yeah.
And then they finally said, okay, like, which date works for you? And I was like, I got it. And then the imposter syndrome kicked in.
Oh,
only then.
It took a second.
It took a second.
When it became more real.
Because I was like, well, I've done tons of TV, right? I've done over 100 shows of Cupcake Wars. I've done tons of guest judging. I produced and starred in Sugar Rush, 3 seasons on Netflix.
You're a pro.
I've done tons of TV and I've done tons of judging, which is essentially what the show is, right? Shark Tank is about judging. But I've been judging cake and this is so different. And even though I invest and I, am an entrepreneur and a business person in my everyday life, I had that moment of like, oh, but I'm going to be sitting next to Mark Cuban, that's intimidating.
That's very intimidating.
It's intimidating. And what's funny is I brought it, I prepared.
Yeah.
I wore that great red suit that made me feel so good.
It looks so good. It looks so good.
And I just committed to myself that I was going to have fun.
That's right.
And I did. I had a blast and everyone on the show was so kind and supportive. And then they asked me to come back for another day of filming. So it was an incredibly positive experience from beginning to end. But what I will say is I was really discounting my earlier TV experience. TV is TV.
That's right.
It's still TV.
Yeah.
And even though I'm talking about a different subject, I'm still on TV, and I should have given myself more credit for that.
No,
it really
but you know
helped.
what I like though? I like it that you felt a little wobbly on it, because it isn't something that you could have just pulled out your back pocket. Like, yes, you have the experience in your everyday life, but talking about it, like you said, on TV is more about cupcakes, more about this, more about that. It's like with me, I never have talked about really home design or like anything like that.
Congrats on your
show. Thank you. But when we were pitching it and all this like that, same thing. We were like, yeah, let's sell it. We could pitch this. We could do this, blah, blah. And then I remember the day before we started filming, I was like, oh man, what in the hell am I about to say? Like, I just didn't have like the words. Like the words don't come. They didn't come as freely as it is when I do other things.
Yes.
And
to develop that vocabulary, that vernacular, that way of speaking about it. I totally get that. That's
you have
true.
your
That's
opinions
very
and you
real.
do it in your regular everyday, but it was like the vernacular on TV has to be a little different, and just clear. And so I like that you were wobbly, but yet it still was something that you had. It was just a skill that you were all right, now I got it.
Absolutely.
And so now it's a skill that you have that one, you have that one, that one, that one.
Yeah.
TV is TV. You're like, I can go on and talk about the grass right now. What you want me to talk? I can talk about my front yard, and that's a skill. And I think that's something pretty cool to remind women, especially mothers, but remind women that, hey, you have the skill. Like, it's nothing like anything else. It's okay to feel wobbly.
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
I love that. I love that. And I love the book. Let's talk about the book.
Yes.
Let's talk about the book.
Yeah. So last October, I came out with a guide to entrepreneurship that also delves into the story behind Sprinkles and all of my sort of personal challenges and personal triumphs, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right.
But also, a prescriptive guide for people who want to start a business themselves, or maybe they have started one and they're having some trouble with their positioning or their branding or imposter syndrome, mindset, right? Or where's this business going? Like, what does a liquidity event look like? What would that, look like for a business like mine? So there's so much in that book. I really poured my heart and soul into it. And I think—
And the best title.
Thank you. Sweet Success. It's got a big, juicy red velvet cupcake on the cover.
Oh, I know.
And
I know. My favorite flavor. Oh, I know.
You notice that?
It's just like a great title. It's catchy, but it's exactly your story. It's you came into this found success with sweets, but you have literally flipped it in so many different ways.
Oh, thank you.
And now you've expanded a brand of Candace Nelson, not just Sprinkles. It's Candace Nelson. Now we know who that is and what does that brand stand for and look like. And it feels so much ownership. It's so much about women empowerment. It is entrepreneurship. It's just all the things. And it's about following your gut.
And dreaming big.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes, women, probably more so in my generation, we were taught to sort of play small, not take up too much space in the room. Don't dream those really like impossible, ambitious dreams. Ambition was a dirty word.
Right.
All of those things. And it's like, no, screw that.
Yeah. Screw that.
Dream big.
Dream big.
Let's do this.
I
So
agree.
as much as I can cheer other women on, other aspiring or, even established entrepreneurs on, I love living in that and playing in that space. And the feedback I've gotten from people has been beyond what I imagined. I think people are really finding such value in it. And, I got a DM the other day that some small business owner had basically made her entire company read my chapter on marketing, and they were doing a rebranding based on, the things that I wrote about in there. So, I mean,
that feels good.
That feels good.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yeah.
When you hear a story like that, that feels good. Just knowing that you've touched someone's business or life or trajectory.
That's right.
That feels good. Oh my goodness, Candace, this was so great.
So fun.
This is so great. I have literally my food idol here, guys. This was awesome. Candace, thank you. Thank you for inspiring us.
Aww.
Thank you for championing for women. Thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for reminding us it's okay to wobble.
Wobble away, ladies.
Right. I like that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you
you.
are such a gift to me as a friend, to your family, I know, because you do it all and I see you on the gram, and you're just a shining light and always someone that I gravitate towards in a crowded room. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. I don't know if these questions really apply to you, but we're going to try them anyway.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The game is just never have I ever.
Oh.
We put 10 fingers up, and if it resonates with you, you put it down. Okay? So you 10 fingers up. If it resonates with you, then you put the finger down.
Just 10 fingers up? Oh, because there's 10 questions?
Yeah. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There should be 10 questions, but there's not. It's okay.
If it resonates with you, put a finger down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Resonates with you, put a finger down. Okay. Never have I ever tasted my placenta. Oh, I have too.
Oh, we're doing this together.
Yeah, we're doing this together.
Okay.
Never have I ever pumped milk in a public bathroom.
That was a long time ago.
Girl, on an airplane. We were in the airport, and I was like, I got to get this milk out because I'm dying right now.
Wait, hold on. I'm a little confused because never have I ever means you haven't done it or you have.
Well, it means never have I ever, if you never done it, then keep your fingers up. But if you have done it, then a finger has to go down.
I messed up on the first one.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought you were saying I've never tasted my placenta.
Right. Okay, how do we rephrase this? We say, but never have I ever
Never
sounds
have
more
I
fun.
ever sounds more fun.
Never have I ever sounds more fun. So if you have, then put your finger down.
Okay.
If you have not, keep your finger up.
Got it. Okay. So then I'm on number 2, I'm just 1.
Okay, so never have I ever tasted my own placenta. I have.
Okay.
So I'm going to put my finger down. Okay. Never have I ever pumped milk in a public bathroom.
I have.
I have.
For sure.
Never have I ever made out with my partner while my baby was in the room.
I'm sure I have.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these questions may not apply.
This is just a long time ago for me.
This is hard. This is hard. I think we're going to skip this.
Okay.
Let's go to this. Answer this. Answer this.
It's for new moms.
This is... Throw that away. Just throw that away. We're done there. We're going to pivot on this. Look, we're pivoting. We're wobbling
I love
over
it.
here.
I love it.
We're doing the wobble.
Yes, you're improving.
That's right. This is me improving. Finish this question. I'm a cool mom. Obviously, I
use emojis.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, we'll go with that. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you so much.